Mancini per Nedved, Pirlo, la conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, gol! Alex, Del Piero! Di Pogacar, Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile, Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
Welcome, everyone, to episode 350 of the Turin Giants podcast. We're coming to you live, exhausted, and somewhat sad after the extra time defeat. Well, I guess it was a victory, but over the two legs defeat against Galatasaray in the Champions League. We're going to get all into it today. Before we do that, though, I want to introduce myself, Zach, as well as Frederic, my good friend, and the man who started all, Farhad. Gentlemen, I know we wish there was a better result today, but otherwise, how's the day going? Frederic, you doing okay?
Could be better. The fact that it's already really late here doesn't help it, but it was a roller coaster. I sent in a TG chat prior to commencing that I felt the thriller was upon us.
Mm-hmm.
I was right, but wasn't as right as I hoped I'd be. So yeah, bummer.
Farhad, man, how are you doing?
I mean, you guys were playing with house money. I predicted that we're gonna make it, so it's extra heartbreaking that I actually believe. I truly did believe, but damn it. I'm pissed. I don't know. We'll get to it. I'm a little sad. I'm still processing.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the feelings, reactions. We're gonna break down the match a little bit, because there was a lot contained in that 120 minutes plus of football. But before we do that, there's two things I want to address. One is a sidebar. People who are frequent listeners to the show know that we have had the personal goal or milestone to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And that is something that we actually accomplished, I think, yesterday, gentlemen, or maybe it was the day before. And we recognize that as much as it's a milestone that we're proud of, it only happens through the, time, contribution, and positive feedback that all of you, our listeners, provide us. And so from, on behalf of Farhad, Frederic, myself, who's here, Kevin, Jack, Damiano, Patrick, and everyone else who's not, we want to thank you to all of our listeners across YouTube Live, people watching YouTube after the fact, as well as across, Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It means the world to us that you've been supporting us and continue to do so, and we appreciate it. If you are new, then maybe this is the perfect segue to say we do appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, your 5 stars, and so on and so forth. So please, if you haven't done that and you enjoy our content, we would appreciate it greatly. I think I got all the housekeeping. Oh, and go to turngiants.com. We got some cool swag, like the shirts Frederic and I are wearing, our scoop shirts, some cool sweaters, some other materials that I know Farhad has worked really hard in putting up there. So check it out at turngiants.com. And with that,
can I congratulate you guys too before we get into it? Yeah, I mean, we started from scratch. You guys are huge reason why we did reach 1K. I want to thank you guys. Our channel was in the dumps. I'm not gonna lie. We were in a dark place, and you guys stepped up. And Kevin and a few other people that you mentioned. I want to thank you all for your super hard work. We're way ahead of schedule with the 1,000. So congrats, boys. Alessandro Belpiero is proud of y'all.
Nice.
Thanks.
So, I was building on an outline throughout the game, and outlines, started at 1-0 up, and then I was like, oh, we're going to talk about this. Then it was 3-0 up, and then I was like, okay, now we're going to change everything, and then, of course, we lose. So we got a lot of notes in the outline, but I'm going to just kind of shove it to the side and start with this, Farhad. If you had to summarize this game in one sentence, how would you sort of encapsulate what the boys did on the pitch today?
This was a huge chance for them to show who's made of what. It's a young team. Many of them haven't been in Champions League knockout situations, let alone a game that you have to win. It's a must win. It's a comeback sort of situation. The positive is definitely this is experience these boys will never forget. This is the experience that was needed for a team that is growing, that is young. It would have been a lot better if they actually tasted the victory, but in the long run, I feel like this is a very good learning moment for a lot of them.
What would your sort of newspaper headline be, Frederic, for to encapsulate this match?
Lots of heart, not enough quality.
And I think we're going to talk a lot about that. I think an annoying refrain. I seem like almost a broken record at this point with the amount of times I've said wasted chances on this podcast. And I think that's just the reality with this team. We are always going to see wasted chances. We saw some ridiculously good opportunities today wasted, which we'll get into. And right on the flip side of welcoming everybody in chat, there's a lot of people tuning in. Some folks already in the chat, like Bogdan, Juve fan, Pinu, who are sort of faithful
family.
Yeah, basically they're part of the Turin Giants family, and so we appreciate that. Lukic as well. I know that after the last Galatasaray game, we had a lot of fans from Galatasaray join us, which we appreciated. They were very nice and respectful on the whole. So everyone from whichever team you come to, we appreciate you being a part of this live show. If you're listening after the fact, please, we do read the comments. You don't always reply, but we do read them all. So please, if you want to continue discussion or have something to respond to something we say today, put it in the comments. We do read them and we do appreciate them. Farhad, let's start with the starting 11 just real quick. I think there's two things that I want to note about the starting 11. Perrin in goal and McKennie as the left back solution with both Cambiasso and Cabal out. When you looked at that, did you think those two changes gave us the best chance to win?
I think so. I think as far as Perrin, he was the best man for the job. You don't want to put a De Gregorian there after what he's been going through. McKennie, I mean, isn't he the guy that would be the best person to fill in a spot that you need? So
any position.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Swiss Army knife. Yeah. Put him in, tell him a couple of words of encouragement, and he was one of the men of the match. But I mean, Gatti was worrying me, but I think we can all agree that I know probably not Frederic, but I feel like he did decent. Frederic is shaking his head. We'll talk about.
But didn't he have to play, Frederic? Like Bremer's hurt. Gatti had to play. So I didn't. That's why I didn't even ask you far out. Like I think we were stuck.
Oh no, I don't think I was talking about. How did he do in this position? He had to play, of course, but I think considering the circumstances, he did pretty well. Of course, fell short, but you were talking about Perrin and McKennie. Perrin. Totally fine with that. McKennie, I think that was a good decision after all.
Specifically at left back, like not switching to a 3-4-2-1, putting Kostic in there or something. You felt the 4-3-3 with Weston at left back was the right play from Split. Yeah. Frederic, what are your thoughts as well? Putting Coop in the midfield, Weston at left back.
Yeah, because I think we saw glimpses of hope and light in Coop's performance last week. And Spalletti had a week's time to evaluate him on a training pitch. And he must have did well, because if the game today was a testament of his work in this week, I think we can all agree that this was maybe Koopmeiners' best game for Juventus since he joined, in my honest opinion. He was very hardworking, had a few slip-ups left and right, but you could still see a lot more energy, a lot more transparency, a lot more vision, a lot more dare I say it, pizzazz. I think, in that respect, he made a good choice. And McKennie, although starting at left back, he was pretty much everywhere, all across the pitch.
Especially in the second half after we went down a man. But let's take this game slowly. Obviously, we're out of the Champions League. Let's give this game its due course, because I think there's a lot that we saw in our team today that might very well carry over into the Serie A season. So that's why I do want to take time. We will talk players, we'll talk moments. And Frederic, I want to start back with you. I think we saw in the first half how the two teams showed up to play, right? From a Juve standpoint, what did you make of how we approached this game? Were you a little underwhelmed, or did you think we came in with the right attitude in order to eventually make the comeback that we did?
I felt we were lacking a bit of sharpness in the first half. If you saw the space that we were getting at times, and we weren't really taking advantage of it due to our tempo being a bit too low, or just being that tad not aggressive enough, so to speak. I think we could have done a lot more in the first half, and Galatasaray didn't impress me all that much, especially after all their whining and laying down on the pitch after every.
Oh, we'll talk about that in just a second.
They are the Atletico Madrid of Turkey.
So, if you have issues as a team with making the tempo feel a bit fast, especially faster for your opponents, and you can make them succumb to that tempo, and that's not working, and you have a team on the other half that's trying every chance they get to get the tempo down by breaking up play, then it's going to be very difficult. But fortunately, around the 35-minute mark, we got our opening. We took that chance.
We'll talk about that. I want to just sort of guide us through the game. I'm like physically tired after watching that 120 minutes of
every once in a while. Every once in a while, you guys will see me do this because it's just it's settling in. I just have my hand in my head. I mean, my head in my hands.
Well, Farhad, Frederic told us kind of how Juventus came to play, and I think there was sort of there was control, but there wasn't, you'd expect that sort of frantic fight. But I want to talk to you about Galatasaray. They didn't really seem to show up today, in my opinion, to really play a game of football. Did you get the same take?
This was painfully doable task. It hurts me to say that. I wrote it down. With a better squad, 3-0 at halftime, guaranteed. Just the two. I think within the first 10 minutes, there was two headers that were given. They should have ended up and imagine the atmosphere. Imagine going into halftime with, give me 2-0, don't give me 3-0. It's but your question was about Galatasaray. Absolutely. I think even the players at the end, sitting on the bench, they couldn't believe how maybe lucky they got. Maybe they played very well, and we all know that Galatasaray is not that great at away in the Champions League. Their record is pretty bad. Yeah. So this was definitely a doable task. I think that's what hurts the most, because we were playing, and I remember Frederic wrote in our chat, such a mid team.
Yeah, they didn't really come in with the. I thought they might come in and try to fight for that first goal. In the first 20 minutes, come out, try to knock us in the nose, score a goal, and then kill the tie right then and there. And they really didn't come in to play a lot of football. They had a couple chances early. Perrine made a couple of saves that he should make, but the constant falling on the ground and faking injury and moaning, like the second we started to score the second goal, you could tell that they didn't really realize that they had to actually play football then, and it was there for the taking. And we'll talk about kind of why that didn't end up happening in extra time for us. But it was a little frustrating as a viewer. But Frederic, did Juventus's players succumb to the frustration, or did they stay focused?
It was, with ups and downs. At a certain point, you could really tell when Juventus was pushing on the gas pedal and the throttle, and Galatasaray were, dumbfounded. They didn't know how to mark, didn't know who to follow who, didn't know just what to do, especially with those one-time passes. We kind of try to do a lot, and making that tempo go upwards. We really brought them into difficulties. And that's why we created, I think, so many chances, because their back line is pretty terrible, in all honesty. But it was the midfield and the spirit of battle that gave him the upper hand last week, which we completely neutralized. And, all in all, especially after the first half and after that first goal, you could say that the game was for the taking. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of sad the way, the events turned out the way they did, with a lot of things that influenced the game. And
we'll get to the red card, which is the first thing that influenced the game. In a second,
what they're showing at the moment, and I'm reliving it. It's terrible.
In a second, so Frederic kicked us off with the goal. Let's get to it real quick. Thuram dribbles a bunch of people, something he does a lot today. And I'm going to ask you about his performance when we start talking about sort of men of the match and top performers. But he dribbles a bunch of guys. Torreira comes in, 2-foots him from behind in the box. We get a penalty. By the way, Torreira did this like 3 times in this game and gets subbed off in extra time or at the end of the game with no yellow cards. Was a little surprising, but that's neither here nor there at this point. So we get the penalty. Loka steps up. Be honest. Farhad, how much faith did you have?
Cool as a cucumber, baby. Loka.
Frederic?
No, I was praying, Loka, please don't miss, please don't miss, please don't miss.
Farhad was calm.
The guy sent
inhaling cigarettes.
The guys sent us here, and they're, oh my God, they're showing the highlights, and I'm just dying inside again. The guy sent us in the Champions League. It was only up to one man to convert it. Great penalty, man. That little, fake, the side-footed shot, really good. Love a good penalty.
Yeah. So the soon after, that was the 37th minute, he scores the penalty. Soon after, we go halftime. We go into halftime with the Gatti free header missed, Coop free header missed. Locatelli's shot was saved. Yildiz had a shot deflected in the 30th minute down to the near post. Goalie made a good save on that one. You had the Jonathan David and Thuram fuck up and whiff up in extra time in the first half. A bunch of legitimate chances going to half. 1-0. You wonder, when is this team going to run out of gas? Is this another script of wasted chances? And we come out in the second half and get gifted with our first moment, our first real inflection point on the game, and that is Kelly, who wins a header and is looking anywhere but the player around him, lands somewhat awkwardly on the calf of the player and gets sent off in, let's be real, comical fashion. They reviewed the second yellow solely to give him a straight red.
Unbelievable.
What's Frederic first? Is that the right call?
Of course it isn't. And if I were Juventus, not because of the outcome or the result, I'd file an appeal against UEFA, because this is downright ridiculous. Because now, the next season you'll have Kelly suspended for the first game of Champions League, should you play Champions League, because straight reds are carried over through the season. And not just that, I feel that if you're a decent ref and you're a bit far from the situation and you have the chance to review it, surely you must see that, the first foul is committed on Kelly. He literally gets pushed and just right before in that duel, almost, while leaping. So he loses his balance. He still looks at the ball, so to speak, as to say, like, where is this going? And lands unluckily. And you should have blown for a foul there. You should have, because it is a foul. You're standing on a player's his calf, but it's nowhere intentional in any way, shape, or form. So giving a second yellow, and even worse, a straight red, is criminal. If this is not, if this is not something that needs to warrant an investigation, I don't know what does. Because
okay, so we we'll just pretend the red card's off the table. It was a second. We'll just say it was a second yellow. would you be able to say, that's
No,
tough?
never.
That's tough,
No.
but you could see it.
No, never in my life. In those cases, it's not because you automatically commit a foul and you're booked already that you're, as a referee, you're kind of obliged to give that second yellow.
Yeah, like
If
the
this
Cabal
was
one.
inten-
The Cabal one,
Yeah.
you were obliged.
Yeah. And if this is intentional or, somewhere, with a bit of mischief behind it, then I'd say, okay, this calls for a second yellow or maybe even a straight red. But this was so unintentional. He gets fouled even before that situation happens and resulting in him losing his balance. And I'm not as pissed off about the decision in itself. I'm pissed off in the fact that he goes to the screen, he replays it, and I was watching it with English subs, English commentary on the zone, and the commentator literally said, "Well, you could see that he's looking at the ball. There's no mischief in play. It's unintentional." So I'm pretty sure the referee will come back on his decision, and boy, did he do that and switch the second yellow for the red. And
but correct me if I'm wrong. He could not have reversed the second yellow because you can't review a second yellow. He could only have not given the red, right? Like Kelly was screwed.
No. The VAR can't review.
That's what I'm saying.
Yellow.
That's what I'm saying. But he gave a second yellow first.
He can. If he goes and have a look, he can revert his decision. The VAR, the people in the where they're at and reviewing and whispering in his ear, they can't revert it. But if he takes a look, then he can come back on his decision. So he could have basically just well said, "Okay, my mistake, not a yellow, but a foul."
Let me ask you another question, and then I'm going to get to Farhad. Does intentionality is intentionality required for a second yellow or for a yellow card at all? Because the answer is clear. The answer is clearly no. You don't need like on a tactical foul yellow. That's intentional. But sometimes people are reckless. That's not necessarily any intention to hurt or a straight red card. But then fouls happen, and that's part of the game. I think with Kelly, I think it was totally hard done by. But it's a really weird scenario. I've watched thousands of football games. I've played in hundreds, if not thousands, of football games. I don't think I've ever seen a scenario quite like that. And so, like, for me, it seemed murky. Like it seemed like a murky situation that could have gone either way. Clearly, Frederic disagrees. Farhad, what was your take on the red?
UEFA going against Juve seems murky. I mean, this is just going to go down as one of those moments in Juve history, in our miserable refereeing history against us in the Champions League. And it's not, it's out there. It's not because we are crying foul. I mean, it's just ridiculous to give a foul in this situation. And then the inconsistency fouls going against Galatasaray. Like if it was consistent, I'd say okay. But I mean, how many times did Yildiz get thrown on the ground? It's just like, and then this little thing, clearly unintentional, he gets booked, and then he gets red carded. It was really harsh. I wanted to ask you guys about the refereeing. How would you guys rate it out of 5?
Well, we've seen some really bad refereeing lately. I think it was not nearly the worst we've seen.
I think first half was really poor.
Yeah, I think I would give him a 2.
Yeah, I mean
a 2.
Very poor foul.
I'd give him a 1. If you give this red card to Kelly, which in my opinion isn't a red card, but if you give it, you should have given I don't know who it was for the step on foot / ankle on Yildiz the same color card, because it was basically the same foul.
Oh, yeah.
There
were a couple like Salai. That was the 32nd
Salai was
on Yildiz. Yeah,
exactly.
And then the simulating of Salai afterwards in 2 occasions.
No cards.
Even the fouls he made.
Yeah.
You have, what was the other guy's name? I think it was Torreira.
Well, Torreira didn't get any cards and 2-footed 3 different guys. It's like
I mean,
so it was absolutely consistent. The simulation thing, like I would have liked to see, and I'm coming from a pro Juventus standpoint here, right? But on like some of those simulations, give a yellow. Hey guys, this is not how we're going to play this game today.
Yeah, it's a warning for the rest of the game.
Yeah, you set the message, and we just don't see that. We've seen yellow cards, and we just don't see any against us for simulation, which is a little frustrating. Regardless, we see Mohammed in the chat says 0 out of 5. Azaru says 2 out of 5. So nobody, it seems, between the 5 of us that we've said thinks very highly of the ref. Go ahead, Frederic. Also,
what I didn't like, the referee starts showboating and trying to assert dominance by booking people on the bench. I think it was Pinso and somebody from Galatasaray that got booked. But you don't have the balls to book the players that are meant to be booked. I mean, you could see for a minute, Kenan made his first foul by pulling a player, which is technically a yellow, which is fine by me. I mean, he shouldn't have done that. That's a yellow. Yeah. It warrants the card, whatever you want. But you need to do that consistently. And you could tell from the get-go, the players were on the ground, moaning, rolling, holding their ankles while nothing even ever happened. And I think as a ref, especially mid-game, you need to be made aware of this. By your assistants, anybody in the VAR room that tells you hey, look, I've reviewed a number of these things, and these players go to ground really quickly. Be aware, and if you see any simulation of sorts, pull out a yellow so it doesn't happen for the remainder of the game. And that didn't happen, which is a shame.
Really did screw us.
If you're in chat, put your score out of 5 of the referee in the chat. We got Sky has stretched it to out of 10, but has emphasized it's still 0 rating. That does bother me. And I don't know if it's just my Juve bias, but it does seem inequitable refereeing when we get booked for things, they don't get booked for things, and we see this across competitions. Osama,
at this point, it's science. At this point,
I mean, it might very well be, but I want to let's be aware of something. Okay, so the red card happens. I asked Frederic, how did Juventus respond to Galatasaray's antics? They were trying to kill the game, right? It's the dark arts. So it's annoying, but we've seen other teams do it. This is an anti-Galatasaray thing, but it was certainly frustrating to me. But the players actually, to me, seemed to keep their composure. There were moments like Yıldız's yellow card where there was a little frustration, but for the most part, the team reset. Locatelli got up into the ear of the ref, and we continued to play on, which I was happy. Farhad said earlier, we're such a young team. We showed some composure there to keep our eye on the prize. Kelly comes off because of the red card. And Farhad, it looked like the team, that moment, made us even more focused and driven, at least in my opinion.
When we went down to 10?
Yeah. Was that the take you got for he goes off in the 49th minute? Was that what you saw in our team after that point?
Absolutely. I mean, it's as if, and even the commentator said that it's as if we didn't lose a player. That's how mid Galatasaray were. And I just kept thinking, you need to kill this game off while you have the legs. You don't want to go to extra time. But yeah, I mean, the boys stepped up, and it's so bittersweet. We saw a great team today. It's just one thing that was important was the result, and that didn't come to fruition. But as far as I mean, are we giving props to the coach? Did he do his job, in halftime and get these boys ready? Like, what do you guys think?
Well, I think there's a couple things here. Obviously, we all know the result, right, Farhad? So we know we won the game but lost the tie or over 2 legs. I think the reason why I'm taking it slow and talking about the team's reaction to these moments is, one, we've criticized this team so much over being mentally weak. And I think this is notably a moment where the team showed resilience against, just like against Inter, against the circumstances that were were tough. In when we were away in Istanbul, we go down to 10 men, we cave, we bleed goals. They could have had 10 more, right? Yeah. That was not the case today. And I just kind of want to call attention to that. And then the second point on that, Farhad, you talk about Spalletti at half. Well, I'm telling you right now, whatever the coach said at half, like consider that thrown out the window when 4 minutes later you go down to 10 men.
No, I don't think it was in 4 minutes. When was he sent?
Well, the 4 minutes was when the call was confirmed. It was gotcha. Like, I mean, the play happened almost immediately, but it wasn't until the 49th where it was confirmed. The team had to then rally themselves for that. And I just want to say, like, we criticize the team so much. Let's call out a moment where they actually bound together and against a lot of adversity produced. I mean, or am I taking crazy pills, Frederick?
No, you're not. But I think it's the fact that this team has a lot of difficulties with handling pressure. And if you can see that red card with, a number of goals back already, then the game's done, basically. And all that pressure falls off your back because you have nothing to lose anymore. So you could play freely. You could play with a bit more of another dynamic in the game. And, the situation itself doesn't change because you're still 1 goal up. You have a lot of chances prior to us even scoring the second. So there's still hope, but, the odds are against you as a whole, but you have nothing more to lose. Whereas in the beginning, when you start 11 versus 11, and you feel like the pressure is a bit on because you're still Juventus, you're still playing in a sold-out arena, you still have the fans, chanting for you. So you owe them some sort of a good performance. But then, it just goes down the drain. Everything is stacked against you. You could play more freely. You can clear your head and you can say, well, fuck it. We're going to go for it because we're all but doomed now already, so why not make the best of it? And we saw that in a couple of games this season when we were down, down and almost out, and then, we found this mental state where we were comfortable enough to risk things and try playing a bit more fluid football and not having the pressure crippling us. And I think this is something we need to cherish and have to put into work next season to, start with that mentality, with that, we have nothing to lose. Let's leave the pressure behind us and just play our football. And that'll be a hell of a challenge, not just for this team, but also for management and our next coach, be it Spalletti or somebody else.
For those listening, Frederic gives a wry smile and then motions at his The Scoop shirt. Hilarious. Well, we did have fight, but I wrote down in my notes at the 66th minute, we were losing steam. It was still 1-0. We started to look tired. And like Farhad said, I was really nervous that we were going to run out of legs, whether it be we come back and we run out of legs or we run out of legs in the 90, we win the game 1-0, 2-0, but we just don't have enough and no bench to bring it home. And then Spalletti makes his first play. He subs off David and Chico, who I think we can agree did not have their best games. Certainly David. And subs on Boga and Zhugrova. So we're strikerless. I think Yildiz kind of roams around in a false nine position. McKennie goes from left back, where he was playing now next to Coop, who after the red card had shifted deep, going from left back to playing striker in possession. And I was a little bit concerned that Boga and Zhugrova, not known for their finishing product, would mean we take even a further step back. But 3 minutes later, we get another goal, 2-0 off a set piece, or sort of a continuation from a set piece. Boga gets the ball, or Zhugrova, gets the ball, dumps it into Kalulu, crosses into Gatti, far post. Were you guys bought back in? Were you believing? Was it Farhad? Was it go time? And you're muted, so I will ask you again.
Yes, no, sorry about that. I never stopped believing. I promise you, I was watching with the family. I told them, gather around. It was 1-0. Stuff is about to go down, and just family went crazy. I mean, at 2-0, you just know.
Yeah.
Seeing this Galatasaray quality, let's finish it. I mean, Yildiz winner would be just,
we'll
the
talk.
most.
We're going to talk about the 92nd minute, Farhad, and I will come back to you because we had every opportunity to kill this game.
And then some.
Yeah, we had every opportunity. So we get the goal, Gatti showing you the fight. I mean, he didn't have a great game. You know that
Poacher's finish.
You know that Gatti hasn't been great this year, especially defending the situation. But the thing with Gatti is he's going to generally fight 125%. And I think that's, Frederic, what I saw in that goal is a guy who wanted to contribute and was pushing for it. Was that your take as well?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Gotti because I think a defender, first and foremost, needs to defend. And that's where he falls a bit short. But apart from that, he showed fight, he showed spirit. But, to pinpoint the fight and spirit into certain individuals today would be a bit redundant because I felt that everybody in the team gave their all, especially after that first goal. Mm-hmm. You could feel the electricity. You could feel the players believing. And it's a strange thing when you're on the pitch yourself and you start with a hopeless situation, but then you feel that the tide is turning a bit and you're actually better than your opponents and you could exploit their weaknesses. Then all of a sudden, you not only grow individually as a player, but also as a team. And I think that was a step in the right direction for the team because they were continuously hyping each other up, helping each other, communicating a lot more than we saw in the past two games, which for me is a step in the good direction. But it doesn't amount to anything if you don't do that, in the coming games in Serie A. Mm-hmm. But just for this game, thought it was very, very well played. But
who were the guys at the center of hyping everybody up and communicating and pushing them forward?
First and foremost, Locatelli,
mm-hmm.
who played a very, very, very good game, in my opinion.
Was there anybody else?
Yeah, I think Kelly did that in first half as well. And you could mm-hmm. see from his reaction from the red card that he was obviously angry, but I don't think he was angry because of the red card itself, but due to the fact that he felt that there was something to be had this game and he would be a part of that. Because in my opinion, with 11 versus 11, we win this game easily, even though we would have squandered 5 or 6 more opportunities. But I think also that Kelly would be of added value in those crunching moments when you're 3-0 up or 2-0 up. He's an added value in that respect, given, by a header or a long-range shot or whatever.
He would have scored.
I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, even though I have gypsy talents, but I don't know if he would have scored, but he would have been of added value to our team. And it was a shame, in that respect, but you could feel the momentum growing. You could see the opportunities becoming more and more concrete. It was just very, very. We converted them poorly.
Yeah.
Zach, whenever you get a chance, can I ask you a question?
Ask me a question.
What do you think about if we would have started Openda instead of David? And what did you think about David's performance?
David was underwhelming, and we would have been no better with Openda to start.
No better.
Gotcha. In my opinion. Let's fast forward, though. We talked about the second goal. Let's go to the third one. So 10 minutes later, and we'll break down players a little bit, where we can talk a little bit more about Openda and David, and I'll expand on that, Farhad. So it's the 82nd minute. It's a free kick. Zagrova puts it far post. Coop wins a header, cross the goal. McKennie jumps over diminutive. Torreira heads it down near post. 3-0 in the 82nd minute. Farhad, what was your where was your belief at?
Go to Frederic real quick.
All right, the garage door strikes again. Frederic, you had said that you expected a thriller. It's now 5-5 on aggregate. Were you in full belief mode?
I was actually just hoping for us to evade extra time, because not only we're a man down, but we're playing with so much heart, so much rhythm, so much effort that it was just a matter of time before you get these, opportunities against the counterattacks, what have you. And so I was hoping to avoid that. And I almost believed that we could have, but then there's a player right out of Kosovo that took me out of fairy tale land and put me with my feet firmly on ground, which broke my heart and broke the spirit of the game, because you could see the reactions of some of the players after that opportunity.
Well, you say that, and not that I'm necessarily defending Zagrova for that horrible take, but so we score 82nd minute.
Can you be mad once? Can you be upset at a player once?
Well, hold on. Okay, that doesn't happen until the 96th minute. Okay, 6 minutes into the extra period. So obviously we don't score a fourth goal. My thought was, because I was nervous about our legs, that if we go into extra time, I think we lose. That was where I'm at. I'm like, we need the fourth in real time or we're done. Obviously it didn't come, but you have in the 92nd minute, Yildiz running in on goal, puts it wide, like all by himself. I mean, he has defenders on either side of him, but he has the shooting lane, doesn't do better. You have in the 77th minute, Thuram dribbles in all by himself, tries to outside foot dink chip the goalkeeper with horrible take. His shot in the first half too, absolutely god awful. You have Gatti free header in the 63rd minute. Chico with his right foot trying to go near post and just limp wrists a shot the first half. You have Yildiz in the 55th minute. I'm going backwards, obviously, in time. In both first and second half, each, you had 5 legitimate chances. So that's 10 legitimate chances other than where you score the 3 goals. You don't even talk about. You don't even get to Zagrova.
No,
if you convert
can I fight you on that? To be honest, because the chances you mentioned are chances that were squandered, and they were squandered. I mean, there's no, bypassing that. But they were squandered by players who started from the first minute, who were obviously very tired. They were tired prior to this game already. So if you're then Spalletti and you see that you lack that fitness level or that extra spark, and you decide to bring a player in who's known for his baller, let's say, gifts, and has the opportunity to become very pesky for defenses with his speed and his agility and whatever. And he was fairly fresh still, I think. If you cannot even, and we're talking about a guy that's maybe 3 meters away from a 7.5 meter goal, you can't even get that shot on target after you didn't do anything. You weren't involved in the build-up play whatsoever. You didn't run from one corner flag to the other or whatever. There was no sense of, whereas Yildiz, Thuram, they had that individual effort, that running, throughout the pitch or bypassing players, and you don't have the lucidity to put that ball in the back of the net. Well, then there's no room for you here. Then there really is no room for you.
But you go ahead, Farhad. I'm having a hard time swallowing wasting 10 chances. Like, look, the Zagrova chance, horrible, right? Absolutely embarrassing too. Like, if I would hide my face in the dressing room, because everyone's looking at you like, come on, dude. But you missed 10 chances. You can't just pin that. I'm just not going to accept pinning that on one dude.
No, but it's also the timing, because at that point Galatasaray were in shambles. They didn't know what to do. They were panicking. They were just, led to the slaughterhouse, so to speak. And you have that momentum going. You have everything going, even while you're a man down. You have everything that needs to be there in order to, pick the fruits of your labor. and you perform a shot like that, to me, that's even. I mean, I'm not. It's just also, Zigrova as a whole. He came in. What did he do? You expect, Chico was not having a good game at all. So you'd expect somebody who's in direct competition for a starting spot after being completely healed to have that sense of momentum, drive, passion to do better. But he was even worse. And maybe this is the main takeaway. If we see Juventus overperform and we get results like we did today, you always see the same people overperform. And when we're overperforming, we always get shafted by the people that are underperforming. It's always these individual errors, be it in defensively or offensively, that cost us games or points. And this is something that needs to be balanced down in the future if you want to win, because this game was easier to qualify at a certain point or not miss these chances than to miss them.
I was just going to say that like my dad always says, is one of his favorite things to say. And it was easier to score from there than to miss. Don't you agree? It was more wide open than you go for a tricky shot around. And then the golden rule, if you don't score, you get scored on. And what happens a few minutes later? Go against us. Like if you don't convert that, that's just you're burying yourself.
But it's not just a chance. Like I said, it's the momentum. And then you see the reaction of players like Loca, Turin, because Turin was in tears after that missed opportunity and was subbed. He was literally in tears. I don't know if you guys caught that on US TV. But then you see the desperation in the eyes of Spalletti, Locatelli, Thuram after that Zigrova miss, because this was the chance to avoid not only those horrible, horrible extra time minutes, but also just to qualify deservedly.
No. The Zigrova miss wasn't extra time, so you were committed to playing 30 minutes. Anyways.
Yeah, it was more than a miss.
Yeah,
it was more than a miss.
It was an extra time. It was an extra
time. Okay,
well, 96th minute mark. The Yildiz had the best chance of regular time in the 92nd minute, 90+2.
Okay, yeah.
And I will say this: it's like, look, we can continue to talk about that moment. We can ask the question, and I will. Should McKennie have shot instead? I will say this: without Zigrova, you don't have the second or the third goal, because what I would call it gave the hockey assist on both of them. So again, let's be fair. It might be one of the worst misses. I mean, David's miss earlier in the season when he was literally inside the goal and somehow missed is probably the worst. Zigrova's might be the second worst miss we've seen all season.
Was it in this game where David literally shot the ball complete opposite way, or was it a previous game?
No. This is the one where he fumbled with it in extra time of the first half. Kind of came off both of his thighs, popped out to Thuram, who had the wide open left side of the net, decides to go cross net and just misses it horribly.
But apart from the names, I think this is the big takeaway. We lack that quality because, honestly, a really quality player would have scored. Kenan's not there yet. We know that. Kenan, and I've said this time and time again, still has a steep learning curve, which he needs to overcome or give some time for him to get that, because today he was, in my opinion, trying to do too much as well. But you forgive him because he's that player that has that ridiculous quality and can decide a game for you in any way, shape, or form. But players like, Zigrova, players like David, you keep trying to put them in the squad. You keep trying to give them these kind of step overs to get accustomed to the way of playing, to gain confidence, whatever you want to do, and it's not working. So there's just this big imbalance in the team quality-wise that you'll need to remedy. You'll need to remedy somehow, or else you'll get 100 more games like these.
Yeah.
And
good players given a chance, they convert these. They put the game on their back. And Zigrova, I mean, it's just poor quality.
No, and if you look at the stat, I know. Zach is a statistics man, and he does that awesomely. But if you look at what Zigrova, Conceição, David have produced thus far, and the season's, 3/4 away from being finished, it's very, very, very poor, and that's something you need to remedy, as well as the goalkeeping issue. Because if you put Zigrova up front, on the wing, or you put Conceição, quality-wise, they're pretty much the same. David and Openda, even though I think David is a better striker than Openda, but even there, you don't really have that quality player in both of them. And keeper-wise, Perin Di Gregorio, same issue.
Yeah.
So that's 3 positions that need to be filled up with quality players, and that's going to be a long scoop summer.
Needless to say, to finish the game after that miss, you had Galatasaray score twice, both in between Perin's legs. Kostic had a good shot wide. Boga had a good look and shot his to the moon, somewhere where Koopmeiner's shot from last year is orbiting. And the game ends 3-2. We're going to get to Spalletti's post-game comments when we get them in, but let's go to Coach Mr. Farhad. You're the Juventus coach. They just lost 3-2. What do you tell them in the locker room?
Is it corny to say that? Yeah, I'm proud of the boys. You went against adversity. Did your best against sending off in barely in the second half. There's something definitely to build on. Like Frederick said, you get rid of a couple of bad apples. You build on it. You take this and you learn from it. Like I said, this is such a extreme situation for a lot of the players where you can take this experience and learn something from it. And there's definitely more positives to take out of it if you're trying to be optimistic as a coach than negatives. The result aside, be proud of what you've done. You didn't just whimper out. You put up a fight, and I'm proud of you guys. Zagrova out.
Maybe not that last bit. Okay, so Farhad goes into the locker room saying you should be proud of what you've done. Frederic, if you're the coach, what do you tell these players in the locker room?
I tell these players that I'm proud of them for the fight they put up against all odds, but that now our season is just beginning. Because whether we can romanticize this all that we won and the Fino alla fine quote and with heads held high and all this, but at the end of the day we lost. We're out. Mm-hmm. Partially or mostly due to our lackluster performance in Istanbul, and we had a couple of these lackluster results lately. So one good performance with a lot of heart doesn't fill me with confidence. We still have everything to play for. And I'd keep the pressure on the players, because the risk you get now is that the players kind of deflate in a sense. They let go of all the stress, the pressure, and everything, which could work wonders. But with a team that's not as winner through as these guys are, it could also be a negative thing. So I keep, I applaud them for their morale and their combativeness, but I'd also tell them that we're approaching the end game now. We're in the end game, and it's the opportunity for us to reap benefits, because all this heart, all this soul, all this passion that we put up in several games won't amount to anything if we don't reap the rewards. And that's on us.
Well, let me ask you a question, Frederic, because you played professionally. So the scoreboard says 3-2, Juventus. But obviously we're knocked out of the competition. Does this game feel like a loss or a victory to the players?
It depends on how you wake up and how you as a team, approach the future. Because you can nag and moan about it.
I'm gonna cut you off there. You're in the locker room. Y'all are getting dressed.
A loss.
Okay.
You view this as a loss. It's because it's two things. This game should not have ended with the score that we saw today, which to me is just a fact. We should have scored more and even prevented one of the two goals that they scored. But also due to the fact that it's a bit of you look back on the game and you played them twice and you were outplayed in the second half in Istanbul. And you can only shift the blame on yourself because this is not a great side. If you were to get a performance like this in against Real Madrid, Barcelona, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, you'd feel a whole lot better because you've made it very hard for one of the world's top teams. This is a mediocre team. You threw almost 90% of your qualification away in Istanbul by just coaching errors, one, and two, lack of quality. And now you get to come back. You give everything you have, your heart, your soul, whatever you possess. But due to the lack of quality, you're still out of it. It's going to come, especially for this unexperienced team as a whole, it's going to come over as a bit of a blow. So we'll probably need to see Spalletti doing some actual parenting over the coming days and trying to get them to recuperate as well, because this has been really intense for the players. Apart from the physical, it's also mentally something that digs deep into your soul. And I have no clue how the team, especially given their inconsistency and experience, will reply with this crucial Roma game.
Yeah, and it's for those believers in the up-down theory of sports. This up of putting all their heart on the line and fighting is potentially due a down against Roma in a fixture that we cannot afford not to win. I asked you what you guys would have told the boys. Farhad, I think you have some quotes. Wasn't from Spalletti though. It looks like what, Chiellini?
For now, I only have. It takes a while for them to come out. So for now, I only have Chiellini's words.
Spalletti won't talk.
Won't talk. All right. So good. We got Chiellini, who says. Of course, I lost this spot. Luciano is not here because I think it's only right that a director is here tonight. We are exhausted and disappointed by the result, despite the performance. At the same time, we're proud of the way we played. The feeling we must have is that this is a starting point to rediscover the spark that's been lacking as we go into the final weeks of the season. If we want to look at Spalletti's tenure, we got 1.5 games wrong since he arrived. We haven't been very fortunate when it comes to incidents, but we have to keep going. Let's just say it's unfortunate. It's fortunate Kelly was in that situation and not me. There's nothing more I want to say about that. I don't know what he means by that, but maybe we can talk about it. He
probably thought he was going to go and absolutely ape shit on on everybody around him for that nonsense. And Kelly was obviously as torn up about the call as Kalulu was in the Inter game, right? It's hard to see two players so distraught over things completely out of their control. I think Chiellini is saying that if he was in that position, he would have, flipped some tables, shall we say?
Yeah, and to finish his quote, he says there are 12 games to go this season, where there's a lot at stake. The team is ready. We saw that tonight, and the growth process continues, even with a few slip-ups and obstacles in our path. End quote.
So he basically said what Frederic said. Season starts now. Frederic confirmed director at Juventus. Let's move and talk individuals, okay? In the interest of time, seeing as we're about to hit the hour mark, I don't want to talk about everybody. What we'll do is we'll pick, I think, maybe 4 players that we want to highlight, and then we'll just do rapid fire of everybody else. Give me 1 or 2 words, and then we'll move on. So, Frederic, who is a player you want to specifically talk about with their contribution today?
In a positive or negative sense?
Up to you, my friend.
Let me guess.
I'm gonna surprise a lot of people here. I'm gonna
Let's
talk
go.
about the positive. Locatelli surprised me, not because of his performance, because we were getting used to that. And the past few games he's been, a bit less, I think, also due to fatigue, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw a very good performance by Locatelli, but we saw more leadership.
Yeah.
And you could see that growing throughout the season. He was trying to speak up, trying to defend his teammates, speaking to the referee, communicating on the pitch, off the pitch, which I applaud because that's your duty as a captain. But it's not something that's inherently instilled in everybody. It's not that if you wear, the captain's armband, that automatically you become a leader. And we kind of were in doubt about Locatelli if he could fulfill that, but he's growing into that. And today you could see, because Locatelli is that warrior, is that kind of guy that gives everything when he needs to be there, especially this season. But he mixed that with a lot of leadership ability, which I liked. I don't think that he'll be the pillar of Juventus for the foreseeable future, but I do think that he'll be somebody, if he can keep this level up, that will still be our captain and will eventually get better at the captaincy in the next season. So I see a lot of growth in Locatelli, which I applaud because this is the Locatelli I want to see. But the leadership, the communication, the spurring teammates on, helping them up when they fall to the ground, all these things for me are very positive, and I hope we can count on that captaincy during these final 12 battles, because they're actual battles. There's not going to be, it's going to get ugly.
Every point matters. Every point matters.
Yeah.
Locatelli led us in defensive actions, led the game in touches, stepped up in a big moment, scored the goal, scored the penalty. Farhad, just briefly, what'd you make of Loca's performance? And then we'll get to your player that you want to discuss.
I feel like, when we're talking about players who are the most upset right now, I feel like Locatelli is one of those on the verge of tears. Obviously, I don't know what's going on. But I feel like he's that one guy that fought the hardest. I completely agree. I mean, we got Frederick praising Locatelli before GTA 6. Let's just say this. But he's absolutely right. I mean, he was vocal. He as far as, pumping up the crowd, I felt like he's the captain guy was there, and it feels shitty. I mean, he had great moves on the great crosses that met their recipient, and it just sucks. He was definitely
in my defense part, I've been praising him for a while now, and Zach can testify to that. I've been praising him for a while now.
We flipped the script. We flipped the script for Loca with Frederic.
He's your Thuram, what Thuram is to me.
Yeah. All right, yeah, who's the player you want to highlight today? Good or bad, doesn't matter. Up to you.
I mean, you guys will make fun of me, but I think Gatti, even though
say Di Gregorio.
Di Gregorio. I mean, they showed Di Gregorio a couple of times. I felt so bad for him, but Gatti wasn't terrible. I mean, he's no man that's behind me here. He's no Chiellini, but had that fight. The new hairs coming in, looking good. But yeah, I mean, he for the most part had Osimhen shut down, and that's my guy. I mean, even scored the goal. Like I said, poacher's finish. It wasn't the 10 out of 10 defensive performance, but I feel like he, after a long absence, stepped up, and it wasn't no easy task.
I would have agreed with you, Farhad, except in the 105th minute, he loses Osimhen, who drifts off.
Legs are going at that point.
And then he can't adapt. I mean, they both played the entire game. Both had the same degree of legginess, and Gatti could not stay with them, and Osimhen, puts it 5-hole on Perrine. You could maybe put that more on the goalkeeper, but football's a game of these fine margins, right? And I think that Gatti fell asleep for a second in there. But otherwise, I think, and not having a lot of minutes this year, he fought for Juventus today, despite being flawed, scored the goal, and should be lauded. I think the player, and I'm going to cheat because I'm the one hosting this, and I'm going to do two. I'm going to do McKennie, and I'm going to do Koopmeiners. In the interest of being positive, there's a few players I could talk about negatives, but both McKennie and Koopmeiners today demonstrated a lot of fight and adjustment. McKennie playing left back, and obviously he can play anywhere, but I don't want to undersell his ability to step into that new role at a big stage against a player who just absolutely destroyed us in the first leg, to then contribute and pop up in striker positions, especially after David was subbed off, to score a goal. This fight resilience, and he was still running late into the game too. His distance covered, I didn't see it, must have been astronomical. Koopmeiners, after the red card, shifts to left center back in a back four, where I don't think we've ever seen him. His fight and contribution, it was not perfect, though I think, without both of their contributions and flexibility, we don't get to 3-0 and into extra time, in my opinion. So I just want to laud both of their contributions, especially on the Coop side, a player who we rightfully, in my opinion, criticized. Over the two legs of this Champions League, a tie against Galatasaray, he has been far from the biggest problem that we see on our team. Okay. In the interest of touching on the other players, and we've kind of went through a 120-minute game in only about an hour 5. So I think we've got time. We're going to alternate, okay? We're basically just give me a one-word evaluation of their game. And I'm just going to go between Frederic and Farhad. Let's pull up the starting 11 and everyone who played. And we're going to go to Frederic first. Frederic, Perrine.
Dog shit.
Farhad, Kalulu.
Good in defense, not great going forward. He needs to work on his, going forward game. But defense is all that matters.
Frederic, Kelly.
My man.
Farhad.
Yes, sir.
Taram.
Aside from the miss, he was great. But yeah, that should not have been despite of what your shirts say, Scoop should have stayed on Turin Giants podcast. Should have just booted it. But great game. Gave it all.
I thought Taram had a great game, but he had two notable misses, which just mars, I think, an otherwise good performance. Man. So I'm disobeying the rules of short responses. Frederic, Chico.
Oh.
Waste of money and space.
Not much space, at least.
Farhad, Jonathan David.
Oh my God, man! I barely saw him out there. I mean, it's just we might as well. We played for 9 players with 9 players on the pitch.
Frederic Yildiz.
Close but no donut.
Farhad Jagrova. And he walks off. Enough said there.
It's gonna haunt me because he actually. I think Frederic said that he played terribly comparing to Chico. I think he was better. I think at least he went past his players. But that final product is complete. In the words of Frederic, dog shit.
Yeah, Mohamed Del Piero, zeros and dog shit in the chat too. I will repeat that he did have what I call the hockey assist on goals 2 and 3. Frederic Boga.
Sign him permanently. I think I'm going into scoop mode now.
Oh, he's going into scoop mode. I was about to say you're disobeying the rules of the game, but scoop mode.
No, I just want to let me just if you see every game that he came on as a substitute, he had an impact. And that's basically what you expect from a winger, a fresh winger, that he has some sort of offensive impact on the game. Doesn't always have to be an assist or a goal, but if there's some threat coming off him, or he can create space or run into space and, pre-assist even, that's an added value. And given the cost of a Boga, and keep in mind he's at 60% fitness level right now.
You could tell. You could tell today that he was not.
Yeah,
fit, yeah.
But if you can get him up to 100 by the summer, and you need to pay, what is it, 5 million to get him in your ranks, it's a no-brainer. We paid Chico almost 40, and I think, output-wise, he can outperform Chico on the other flank any given day of the week. So,
already, Farhad, our last regular time contributor, Adzic.
I think he did well considering the pressure. No, I mean, okay.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
No, it's sorry. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't lighting it. He was not lighting it up out there, but he was at least not terrible. But 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
Alex says 1.5.
Out of 2.
I think Adzic was a passenger. I won't necessarily go into Moretti, Kostic, Openda. They all came on really late and obviously did not have any impact whatsoever in the game. So I don't know if there's enough time to give them a
Zach,
review.
how do you rate the subs made by Spalletti?
I think the Chico and the Boga Zhagrova subs were the right subs and at the right time. And that paid off because Zhagrova helps create 2 chances. Boga helped create a couple should-have-been goal chances. Boga also helped create the Zhagrova miss chance. And so both of them, I think, were lively. I think the rest of them was just an absolute guess. It was surprising to me that Spalletti subbed Adzic before Moretti.
I was going to say that. I just want to sound silly, but that was my thought too.
I think I think that's a little bit of a message. You don't bring on Openda until the 109th after they scored. So you basically, that is just the signal is, again, you and Kostic come in as, I'm going to hope and a pray, but I don't actually have faith in you. So I think the 2 messages are that the first subs, Boga Zhagrova, was the right ones and at the right time. And the other ones were just sort of indicative of how bad our bench is. How much our coach doesn't trust them.
How come Turin was subbed out? Maybe a weird question, but was he just that tired? Because I think it was earlier in the game, and I feel like it was very important to us.
It was the 78th minute that he was subbed. And I kind of was wondering that too, because I didn't know what impact Adzic was going to have. I was surprised it wasn't Moretti if he was going to get subbed at all. And Thuram just went on a run, granted, horrible finish with his chip attempt. But that did surprise me. So if there was a miss in this game from a coaching standpoint, it was that sub.
I agree.
But I think for Spalletti, I give him I give him fairly high marks for this game and how the team was mentally. I give him credit to some of the resilience showed by the players. Obviously, I think the players deserve a lot of credit to their resilience as well. And I think the first 2 subs proved to be the right call with their contributions, and there should have been contributions from that point forward.
Thuram was a bit injured, by the way. He had Torreira studs still stuck in his ankle. They had to stop the bleeding for 5 minutes during halftime. And
oh my god, man!
It was pretty bad.
Having studs in the back of your leg must suck so bad.
So yeah. We finished the individual players. We finished the game. My question to you, Frederic, is I asked you what you would say if you were the coach. Okay. Now you are, working for Pick Your Newspaper. You would get to write the review of the game. Is it a moral victory? I know we won the game, but lost the tie. Is it a moral victory? Is it a positive note that you're sort of reflecting on today's performance, or is it a crushing? Is it more of a crushing failure to progress?
No, it's a praiseworthy moment in the sense that we stood up and we fought. But once again, the quality obviously is lacking in certain aspects. And the thing you need to take away from this game, especially if you're a coach, is how can I remedy this? And the only solution is getting new players in, especially in key areas as goalkeeper. We desperately need a solid striker. We could do with a defender or two as well. We need to reinforce this team. The only way that we can do that is if we can get Champions League. That's the only thing. That should be our prime focus right now. So everything must shift in order to obtain that kind of benchmark that we set ourselves. Because if we don't do that, then you could see quality injections being made stalled for a season or two. Those are just facts. Bar the fact that we might sell Yildiz to cover cost or whatever, which I don't think is the appropriate solution if you lack quality, to be honest.
Sell quality.
Yeah. So that's your only hope. That's what you're gunning for. If we don't make that, and I think we'll know soon enough. This is not going to be, I think, a negative decision that will fall on the last day of Serie A. If you lose against Roma and don't get points the week after that, and Roma doesn't lose any points, I think you're not mathematically, but you're almost out of the Champions League race. Then I hope we can fall back to 11th place so we don't have to purchase Openda, because that is the clause. A lot of people reporting that if we don't relegate to Serie B, we're obliged to buy Openda. That's not true, because that would be ridiculous even for our management. No, if we don't enter top 10, we don't have to trigger the buy option. And I say, well, if we're not going to play Champions League, we might as well throw European football as a whole out the window for one season to save us 45 million euros and the presence of Luis Openda on Continassa, and even worse on game day. So I'm rooting for two very separate things here. Either we qualify for Champions League or we fall back to 11th place. So let's go.
Quick stock of that. We are, of course, 5th in the table. There are 12 games to go. We are 4 points back of Roma, who we play this weekend. We are 1 point ahead of both Como and Atalanta, who are on our heels. Of the 12 games that remain, we still have to play Milan and Atalanta. So of the teams vying for European spots, we only play, so of the 7 spots, we only play 2 of them. So we've front-loaded a lot of our tougher matches. Not to say that Milan and Atalanta aren't tough matches. They absolutely are. But pound for pound, we have an easier run-in than the teams around us, and we have no other competitions. So like Frederic said, like Chiellini said, the season really starts now to kind of push for that objective, and we still have everything to play for, despite being 4 points back from that position at this stage, at least in my opinion. Yeah. Going back to the game, and I asked you your thoughts, Frederic, and before I go to Farhad, I'll kind of share my own. I'm really conflicted. When Juventus lose, we come on here with all of our followers and we have a therapy session, and it's a little weird for me that we won the game. We, like Frederic and Farhad, you said, we showed fight, determination, the positivity, so many things that we haven't seen before. We scored 3 goals, down 10 men, still fought, so on and so forth. But of course, we drop out of the Champions League, and so it just leaves me somewhat conflicted inside about winning a game, losing a competition. How do you, Farhad? How do you feel like you're going to think of this moment? Is this more of a win? Or is this ultimately failure because we crashed out of the Champions League game in a tie that proved to be, certainly at the 82nd minute after we scored our 3rd goal, very much a winnable tie?
Are we looking short-term, long-term? Short-term, of course, we're out. It's terrible. It doesn't matter what kind of great comeback to be. The result is what matters. But like I said, if we manage to keep Spalletti, this is just one of those things that the team learns together, moves on. We saw a lot of positives today, aside from a couple of things that went wrong for us. But I'm not devastated. I'm just bummed, like on a level 10 was, devastated after mentioned some of the games like Juventus against Real Madrid, 3-0, and then Ronaldo, kicks us out. The whole thing with the ref, that was devastating. I mean, I couldn't speak for hours after that. It was just, but this one is encouraging. It's playing with 10 men. You can't help but feel like, but it's Juve. Next game, they come out. You don't know what's going to happen against Roma. Like, are we going to take this and continue the momentum, or we're just going to go back to a weird result? But in the long run, I feel like it's an okay result if you're trying to build a team of young players. It's a great lesson for them, and I think they did great.
The positivity in general from my friends here, Azaru calls it a win. And Del Piero says, and I haven't confirmed this, that Fabrizio said that Spalletti is inclined to extend. Let's Frederic eulogize our Champions League season. Okay, we once again go out in too early against a team that I think many folks would say, from a stature perspective and maybe even a skills perspective, is not as good as us. Like we have in 6 straight Champions Leagues now,
Ajax 2019, Lyon 2020, Porto 2021, Villarreal 22, Europa League in 23, no European football in 24, knocked out by PSV in 2025, and Galatasaray 26.
Yeah, so 6 or 7 straight campaigns.
I'm tired, boss.
Yeah, true, but let's be real. Until, I don't want to. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that, and I kind of maybe queued this up. I think it's ridiculous if we say that a team of Juventus' stature shouldn't blah, blah, blah. From a European standpoint, Juventus has not shown for almost a decade that we are a team of a certain stature. It's to the point where we have shown this is as good as we are. We're a first knockout round team. We are not European anything. And until we prove otherwise, in my opinion, we don't deserve to be called otherwise. Okay?
Yeah, if you think Juve is European quality, go watch some of the other games where, congrats to Atalanta coming back, and some of the teams are just so good, and we're just nowhere near that level of European.
But to that extent, can we, Frederic, we did the job from a financial perspective. We did the job. We got into the next round. We got some more money on the books. Can you say, you know what? Can you be the businessman, say, okay, well, we kind of did what we expected. Yeah, I could accept that and move on. Or is this ultimately a disappointment or a failure?
It is a disappointment and a failure. You should aim to be, I'm not saying that we should aim to win the Champions League every season, but your transfer market almost dictates what your intentions are. And given our last transfer market, which was very chaotic and underwhelming, I think it's safe to say that we were assuming that this wasn't a team that was built to win a Champions League. Now, I'm going to contradict myself here, because you cannot build a team that's going to win a Champions League. There's no magic formula. It all starts from, the basics. And the basics is being a solid team in Serie A where the quality is dreadful. If you manage to get a couple of seasons under your belt competing for that top spot in Serie A, having a bit of appeal, and you could start, making your way through to Europe, because that's what we were doing when we reached the 2 finals. We were dominating Italy. We had a lot of appeal, and that made it possible for us to not only attract players that could take us to the next level, so to speak, but also to develop players that we bought within Italy or whatever. So you have this mixture of, all these good things. Whereas now, if you're hurting sportingly and financially, it's very difficult to get out of that hole. And like I said, the way to get out of that hole is to be competitive in Serie A. And if we're always starting the season by saying we need to make top 4, then we're underselling it. We need to start a season where we say we're competing for the top spot. Maybe that's not always realistic, but that's a mentality thing that you need to instill into your players and your coach as well. Because if you start with Tudor, who has no experience and hasn't finished the season, and you don't buy the players that Tudor wants, well, then it'd be ludicrous and almost blasphemous to tell the press, hey, we're gunning for top spot. So you start off the wrong foot.
I think he's.
I hope so.
I think, no, unfortunately, is probably he would drive up the average age on our team quite a bit.
But he'd bring the hype, though.
He would bring the hype, no question.
Ludicrous was the first album I ever bought with my money, so I'm down.
I got goals. I got goals.
New third goalkeeper. No. We love Pinso. Fourth goalkeeper. Farhad, was this campaign very much met expectations at the end of the day, considering our team and our transfer market and everything? Do you think we exceeded expectations, or do you think we failed to meet expectations?
We would have exceeded expectations if we were playing in 2 weeks, so whenever the next round is, I truly believe. But it's pretty much what we expected. I mean, like I said, Champions League quality is so above what we are right now. So
look at our bench. Look at our bench.
I mean, we're just not a year. I mean, people were actually hopeful we'd go far in the Champions League. Like, have you seen Real Madrid? Have you seen PSG? These teams will completely destroy us if we went that far. So, I mean,
I beg to differ. I think this was a team. If we were, to meet up with the giants of European football, we'd actually excel. Like I said, we tend to do very well when you overperform. And if you go to Bernabeu, if you have Bayern Munich visiting Allianz Stadium or whatever, you tend to have that vibe where you want to overperform. I think we underestimated the whole Galatasaray thing, and we thought, well, hey, we're still competing, for Serie A, so let's, keep the energy a bit compact. Let's not. Whereas in Europe, there's no room for failure. So we kind of undersold our own qualities ourselves, and the away game or the game in Istanbul.
Well, that's what happens when a team doesn't believe in itself. Mental is such a huge part of the game. It's like, let's go and get a good result, and maybe we can win at home. Instead,
no, it's not. It's not just that. I mean, that's a nice way of putting it. But you also just need those quality players that, in certain moments of the game, can put some trust into the other players, can slow a game down or get the tempo a bit up, or make the right choices at the right moments. We don't have that. We always make the wrong choice, or 9 out of 10.
We do everything hard for ourselves.
Yeah, it's always, we're close, but no cigar. And it's a learning curve, but also management needs to step into that learning curve, and that needs to draw a line and say, okay, we fumbled the ball here by buying useless players in this system, or useless players as a whole, and they need to identify the issues at hand and come up with a plan now, not in August, but come up with a plan now how to remedy them. Because if you don't start from there, then if you start your next season with Openda still on the bench and Perin or Di Grigori in goal, well, then you're just asking for trouble, aren't you? So there needs to be more of this symbiotic method in terms of Spalletti and management, and maybe even Alcon. Maybe it's also up to Alcon to say, I'm going to get a bit more involved in this whole process. I'm going to demand a more qualitative output, as in opposed to the money I'm putting in or the money the investors are putting in. I want something useful to be done with that money, and not just leave Kamoli and his weird ass software algorithmic thing point out Openda for 45 million on the last day of the market. I think you need to be strict on players and coaches, but management as well.
Well, and that, if we plug, and we've plugged a couple times, well, then stay tuned for the scoop over the summer, because we'll be detailing. We'll be detailing. It's going to be crazy. No matter where we finish, if we don't get into Europe, or certainly not the Champions League, there'll be a lot of sales. If we do, we'll be demanding that Kamoli earns his salary. That Ottolini earns his salary.
Would you guys prefer to be in a Europa League than a Champions League next year?
No. No.
It depends on.
I mean, Frederick's given his controversial take that he's.
Yeah, but it depends on what team you're starting your Champions League or Europa League with. If you still have the Gregorian goal and Openda as your striker and maybe David, then I'd say, well, stay out of the Champions League for all reasons concerned. If you get in Senesi, Bernardo Silva, and whoever, and you have that quality injection, I'd say, yeah, Champions League, because these are players that are built to play Champions League games and could get you over the edge in a certain way. So it all depends on that, and that's why I feel like the focus now and the shift now should be towards not only the Roma game, but the 11 games after that.
Well, I asked you guys kind of how you felt about our Champions League season, how you felt about today's game.
Zach, how do you feel about our Champions League season?
Oh, no, hold on. I'm asking the questions here. What are you doing?
I thought you were asking yourself.
I'm not. We talked about it. Well, the people in attendance at the Allianz shared what they felt about the effort on the pitch. I think all of our feeds caught the applause. When that second goal was scored, dooming us, right, to defeat across the two-legged tie, the applause was ringing through my feed. Farhad, Frederic, you got the same, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I immediately turned the TV off when I saw.
Okay, that's typical Frederic response.
I'm a glory hunter, man. What can I say? I'm a glory hunter.
Well, the Allianz rang out in applause, and I just, since you turned off your TV, I won't ask what you think of that. Farhad, how did you interpret that moment? Garage door, great. I'll tell you what I thought of the moment. The freaking Farhad's garage door. He said more in this episode than I have. I thought it was appreciation for what, as fans, we all want to see at the end of the day. We want to see team to fight hard. Frederic has said it multiple times. He doesn't care if we get relegated, as long as we go out there, we fight for the shirt, we do the best we can, type of thing. You know, considering the circumstances, did they bleed for the shirt and put the best chance? And I think that was what I interpreted. The team unequivocally fought as hard as this flawed team could to come back, score 3 goals, bring it to extra time, and the lack of quality plus the lack of legs of running so much, being down a man, they just fell short. But I thought it was appreciation of all of us fans for the effort that they put on the pitch today.
It's also a bit of it's also, sorry, Farah, I'm gonna get in before the garage door does. I think it's a bit of context as well, because if you lose with the kind of teams that we had, and we were talking about having De Ligt, Ronaldo, Pjanic, Dybala, even Pogba at certain points, and you go out the Champions League, with all due respect, against the likes of Lyon and Ajax, it's obvious that you as fans are disillusioned. But seeing this team and all the holes they have and all the negatives that they have, but still put out that fight, that makes you proud, I think. It's not only the result, and this is a typical stance that a lot of Juventus supporters have. Just honor the shirt. We'll support you all the way in Serie B as we did, or wherever you are, but we just want to see you honor that shirt. And they did that today, and it could have gone our way easily if we had that bit of quality. So I'm hoping that for next season we can inject some quality into this team. Let Spalletti work his magic, and who knows what we can achieve and how fast we can flip the script on a lot of teams. But it remains to be seen.
That kind of I buried the lead. We're an hour and 35 minutes in, and to get to the point where I want to give my message to the team, if I was in the locker room, I would just say, stop and listen. We know we got knocked out of the Champions League, but after the effort you put on the pitch today, listen to what the Juventus fans think of you. listen to that applause. Win or lose, what they want and what I want as the coach is to see that level of fight. If we don't make Champions League but played like that, with that level of fight every game, then I can't fault you.
For sure.
That would be my message, because it takes, I think we're all kind of bummed, right? We're not all kind of, but we are bummed that we got knocked out of the Champions League. But at the same time, we all recognized and took a big step back to say and recognize that this team put it all on the line and tried their best and came up short, for the reasons we discussed. But they gave 150%. And that is what, as fans, we want to see, whether we're at the top of the game or whether we're at the bottom of the pile. And that's something I hope they cling to. And when they don't have their stuff, or when Cambiasso comes back in the next game to inevitably, gift the other team a goal.
I was thinking of how good it was not to have him on the field. You could feel like there's no mistakes to be made.
McKennie might have played himself into a starting role at left back. Who knows? But that's the thing I wanted to, sort of the message I wanted to share at the end of this episode is the Juventus fans, all of us, and the Allianz was no different. We show up and we appreciate and we applaud when the team fights for the shirt, win or lose. And that is what I wanted to kind of leave everybody with today after the disappointment, but after the fight and the hope that they ended up giving us in those 90 minutes of fighting back with those 3 goals. So we're at the end of the episode. Again, I want to thank everybody. We've had pretty good attendance to today's live show. Us reaching 1,000 subscribers was a milestone we really worked hard at, and we want to thank all of you for being a part of it. Frederic has been on over 100 episodes in that journey with me. And so I want to thank my partner in crime here and maybe give the closing word to Farhad, who, what was it, 11, 12, 13 years ago started this?
I think our first episode was after 2013 is from what I remember. But yeah, so it's been a long, long time.
13 years ago, you started this. It seems, so 13 years to get to this point, but we celebrate all of our milestones, and we certainly celebrate everyone who's been a part of it, like the many folks in chat today. Is there anything that you would like to say quickly before we sign off with regards to everybody who helped us reach this milestone?
The level, the quality that you guys brought to the podcast, I don't want it to go unnoticed. And these are the numbers. These are the numbers of followers and subscribers and everyone who follows us. That's Juve without winning for several years now. Just be optimistic, because wins are coming, baby. Well, and once we start winning, Juventus is gonna smell the blood in the water, the numbers and the shows, and it'll be amazing. So stick with us. It's just another therapy session. And I want to thank every single person who participates in our podcast. That includes, of course, the subscribers as well.
And we appreciate listeners across all platforms, not just our YouTube subscribers. Obviously, we were born out of the podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google Play world, and we value everybody who's helped us grow and reach this point. Your feedback, your comments, your engagement it has assisted us and been invaluable to this growth. We appreciate.
We will have a celebratory episode, by the way.
We will. Thank you, Sarah Colomer, and quickly say appreciation in chat as well. So thank you guys.
I want to say something real quick, if I may. I just want to not only thank the people in chat and the followers and everybody that helped us reach this goal, because I feel that these people, for me, equal family, because I share my deepest emotions with them right afresh after the final whistle is blown. We're here and sharing either therapy sessions or spectacular outbursts when we against all odds get a good result in. But I also want to thank you guys. It was Farhad that gave me a choice. It was Zach that was fairly skeptical of me, but in these 100+ episodes, not only did I have the
there's only room for one bald guy. Who is this guy? But then look what happened.
Yeah. look what happened. And not only did I get the chance to build a relationship with these gentlemen and the other members of Turin Giants, but it added something more to my life. And this might sound melodramatic or whatever, but it gave a bit of a fresh breeze into my life, and not only the working part and the post games or the scoop or the being on the phone constantly texting, but the fact that I know that I have friends legitimately in another continent who I can rely on, who I can share emotions with. And I'm truly thankful, because for me, this is one of the most important things in life, that you can share emotions, thoughts, and just friendship with people. And I'm so grateful for that, because I truly feel that this was, for me personally, a gift. And I'm very happy to have received that gift. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Really.
The jackpot with Frederick. I don't know if I have I think I have the original message that you sent me on Reddit when I posted, hey, we need new voices, whoever can. Frederick said one thing: I've got a lot to say. I think he was right. I'm gonna have to pull up that message.
Yeah.
Well,
we have to at some point.
For Frederic, it is like 1:30 a.m. for him. So let's let him go. And everybody, Frederic, Farhad, everybody listening right now live, everyone listening after fact, we thank you. We appreciate you. And until next time, as always, Forza Juve.